be King against Pogokieng, and they've both demonstrated to be excellent players today. Still 6-0 undefeated throughout the tournament. So someone's gonna have to lose there, but it's gonna be a fun one. So we've only got a couple of matches left for you guys, but don't go anywhere because the action is still happening right now.
Very, very exciting matches coming up here. Again, the first ever Pokemon Go Invitational. It's amazing to see Pokemon Go PvP represented here on the main stage at the Pokemon World Championships.
And I feel like in a lot of the matches we've seen different examples of how skill in this game, is carried out. We saw in this last game a different strategy where you can potentially get stat boost, switch out, conserve your energy, and come back in. It felt like earlier on in tournaments switching wasn't too common, but later on it's like, we saw Karime, you actually used a lot of switches in that last game. I think that was actually the first time I saw at least like 2 switches in the same game. That typically doesn't happen very often because most of the time there's just not enough time to do that. But if you do it very early on in the game, that's what Karime kind of prioritized. Definitely was a big advantage for him.
Yeah, really, really excellent mastery of switching, switch timing.
Yep.
And we'll see more of that as we actually head into our winners bracket semifinals.
Oh, okay.
Pogokieng versus Pogokieng.
All right, this is definitely going to be a good one. Both of these guys are 6-0 so far. They haven't really been challenged too much. They have really been making a tear through the bracket, so I expect to see a lot of high-level gameplay from these two trainers.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this matchup plays out. Both of these guys definitely very prepared, done a lot of practice, and I'm sure they've done a lot of practice together and against each other.
And that, I think, makes it a lot more exciting. We often see that happen in all the other games that we have featured at Worlds, right? And it changes the dynamic of the matchup because you might play differently. Instead of playing more conservatively, you know your opponent's running this Pokemon, so you might lead something a little bit riskier specifically to counter something you think they're going to lead. And I think that happens a lot more when you've practiced with a certain player or played with them multiple times throughout the course of your career, and it changes the dynamic of it. So I always love seeing people who I know have worked together or have played against each other before kind of come together because you know that there's already a lot that's happened before the game's even started.
Yeah, and it really speaks a lot to the strength of the Pokemon Go community. These guys who come from different parts of the world, King from Toronto, Pogokieng from Alaska, are able to make this connection over such a long distance and now be here together, competing against each other, face-to-face, in person for the first time.
Very, very excited to see how this plays out. Let's get started. This is, of course, the winners final, so the winner of this is guaranteed a spot in the grand finals, meaning they are guaranteed a spot in top 2. Anytime you make it to grand finals from winners finals as well, it's huge because it means you have a set advantage against the player coming from losers finals. And it just means you need to win one of 2 sets to win the tournament. So big, big matchup coming here. Here we go. King's on the bottom. Gonna be Pogokieng on the top. And a classic matchup. A Swampert against a Venusaur.
We're gonna see an immediate switch.
Absolutely, you have to, right?
So fast with that, taking minimal damage on that Swampert. Of course, Pogokieng has to follow with the switch as well, so it's Deoxys versus Deoxys. Again, the difference here in the charge moves with Rock Slide on one side, Thunderbolt on the other.
First charge move will come out, will be that Rock Slide from King, doing some pretty good damage, but here's the scary thing, right? Because the Venusaur switched out, King has to know, okay, I have to be able to knock out that Venusaur because my Swampert's not going to cut it. So if Deoxys faints here, King better hope that his last Pokemon can deal with that Venusaur.
Yeah, absolutely. And Skarmory probably a big choice for King here.
Yeah.
Definitely something to hold on to for that Venusaur. If not in this match, then at least in the next one.
Here we go, Rock Slide coming out. Both of these Deoxys falling quite low. No shields committed yet this early on in the game. There's another attack coming out. This might be a good time to shield for King's End, but looks like he might actually choose up to not shield here. Gonna be a Psycho Boost, actually. Wow, nice call.
By King, and now committing to his own Psycho Boost. With just a little bit less HP on the side of Pogokieng. This one might actually be enough to KO.
Is it enough? Let's see. Oh, it looks like it is. Wow, and enough energy to potentially get another Rock Slide or Psycho Boost off. Pogokieng certainly does not want to bring that Venusaur out. Oh, actually, never mind. Looks like the energy wasn't shown there before, but it's building up, and it gets the knockout there. And there's the Skarmory, like you mentioned. So we saw that earlier. Yeah, that's ideal, definitely, to have up against this Venusaur.
Pogokieng immediately switching to that Azumarill. King looking for the switch to Swampert as well, but actually committing to Sky Attack here.
Actually ends up missing one, so it won't be an excellent attack off there. Doesn't do as much damage there against the Azumarill. Once again, these players are playing on iPads, so maybe not the phone screens that they're used to playing Pokemon Go PvP traditionally on.
Yeah, definitely introduces a new level of difficulty as these players have to adapt to a different size of screen, different inputs.
King this time will finally commit that first shield. Wouldn't be surprised to see Azumarill go for a shield now. You really don't want to lose it before the Venusaur comes out. You want to be able to knock out the Skarmory ideally. And, oh, a switch out here actually into the Swampert. But Venusaur may... Like, that's a great switch because you need to conserve the Skarmory for the Venusaur. If not, the Swampert most definitely will lose the 1v1. But that's the last shield now out from Swampert.
Good switch by King, actually trying to get some damage off on this Azumarill before Pokeake's switch timer comes up. Of course, there it is. And Venusaur's back. King now stuck in this matchup as his switch timer continues to count down. Oh,
that's a frenzy play. That's most certainly going to be a knockout. So super effective there against the Swampert. So here it is. Now Skarmory might be able to close this one out. Gonna have to eat up a charge move from the Venusaur, but we know that Venusaur's charge moves don't do much damage at all. That frenzy plant really only doing around 10-15% or so. And for now, King might actually want to not use... Oh, he doesn't use a charge move, but he has to eat up another charge move now from the Venusaur.
He's going to be holding on for dear life with very little HP left, but he might actually have enough energy charged up to finish off this Azumarill, although one shield left on the side of Pokeak. Does King have enough energy for 2 charge moves in a row?
It looks like Azumarill's going to just get the Ice Beam off anyway, and there it is. Wow. So Pokeak taking that first one in what I felt like the classic starter matchup, right? Swampert against Venusaur. Obviously, Swampert loses that every time, and even though King had obviously Pokemon to deal with the Venusaur in both the Deoxys and the Skarmory, because he was forced to make that first switch early on, that gave Pokeak the advantage in terms of switching.
Right, really started off that battle in favor of Pokeak, and he was able to carry that momentum throughout the rest of the match.
Very exciting to see how this plays out. I think King certainly will want to reconsider leading with the Swampert. Obviously, that's the worst matchup possible in PvP here for both trainers. So probably going to want to swap it up a little bit, maybe keep it in the back. Swampert, of course, still a pretty good Pokemon, but it's one that has really little effectiveness against Venusaur because Venusaur just does so much damage with its grass-type attacks. Maybe even not bringing Swampert, that certainly could be an adjustment as well, but gonna have to be a little bit more careful with the Swampert in general because he knows how strong Venusaur is. And I feel like Venusaur's really been the MVP for Pokeak today.
Absolutely, and with the team composition of Pokeak here, that Swampert actually might not be the best Pokemon, so let's see if King adjusts for that, leaves the Swampert in the bag this time. Let's see which Pokemon these trainers choose to lead with heading into match number 2.
Here we go, match number 2 of Winners Finals. The loser will, of course, still make it to Losers Finals, so not out by any means, but we'll see if King can bring this back. And oh, that is definitely a nice adjustment. Skarmory has the lead this time instead of the Venusaur in a phenomenal position to start the game.
Let's see how quickly Pokeak commits to the switch here. Looks like he's going to leave that Venusaur in just long enough to charge up some energy. Of course, switching out just in time to avoid the Sky attack from the Skarmory. King now following with a switch of his own to avoid that super effective damage from Lantern's electric type attacks. Umbreon coming in, charging up towards that foul play.
Yeah, I think King definitely having the better end this time, though. I feel like the lead matchup have really dictated the early game, kind of forcing switches and allowing your opponent to get a better switch. An excellent foul play goes off there as well, so looks like another one will be able to knock out the Lantern. Both Pokemon just trading fast moves right now. We'll see if the Umbreon decides to commit to a shield here.
Looks like no shield on the side of the Umbreon.
Oh!
Gonna deal a ton of damage despite how defensive that Umbreon is.
Tremendous amount of damage there onto King's Umbreon, but I think King just really wants to be able to knock out the Lantern right now because that obviously gets super effective attacks off against the Skarmory and is actually able to pick up the knockout. So that's a major threat out the way. He knows that Skarmory is going to be able to win the 1v1 against Venusaur even with shields available. So obviously the goal now is just to knock out this Deoxys.
Deoxys coming in, finishing off that Umbreon very quickly with counter. And now, of course, Deoxys versus Deoxys. We've seen this one before. Again, the difference here being Rock Slide versus Thunderbolt.
I feel like
does have some energy already ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I feel like King definitely maybe has a slight advantage there, though, because obviously it's a mirror match right now. They're both relatively healthy, but Skarmory is going to win against Venusaur pretty much all the time. So they're both going to just be trading shields here. I mean, for Pokeak to win, he really wants to be able to have better answers against the Skarmory, and that's mainly through the Thunderbolt that he has on his Deoxys. But that means he has to keep Deoxys around.
Right, and that adjustment by King to bring Skarmory instead of Swampert really made a huge difference in this match, especially right in the lead-off.
Here we go. So we actually see the switch out. Yeah, Pokeak wanting to conserve the Skarmory because he knows it's got the Thunderbolt specifically to deal with the Skarmory. but now he can't switch, and this is exactly what Skarmory wants, to be in against Venusaur. Venusaur can't really do any damage off against Skarmory. He'll just be able to knock it out consistently, even just through its fast moves.
Even with that one shield left for Pogokieng, King knows that he can take this Frenzy Plant, it's not going to deal a ton of damage, and he can finish off Venusaur just with the fast moves and have lots of energy saved up for Deoxys.
Yeah, absolutely. Now has all the energy, like you mentioned. The shields have already been committed, and he's still got the Deoxys in the back for himself as well. So Kane definitely in a very good position. Finally baits out that last shield. It's a 2v1 now, but with no shields on either end, and 2 Pokemon on King's end, including his own Deoxys, feels like he should be able to take this one.
Yep, luckily able to get that Sky Attack off before Pogokieng's Deoxys charged up Thunderbolt. Looks like we might see Thunderbolt before it goes down.
Let's see. No shields remaining, so should be able to get at least one of its 2 charge moves off. Might be a Psycho Boost coming out. Looks like it will be the Psycho Boost. Is it enough to get the knockout? Oh, it is. But Deoxys is, of course, going to come out from King's End, and with enough health, certainly will be able to get the knockout with any charge move, just going for a Psycho Boost right now. So the adjustment, the lead really made all the difference here. The fact that Pogokieng went with Venusaur again, King kind of called that, went with his own Skarmory. Big deal in this matchup.
Yep, really shows you the importance of choosing the right lead. And again, in a format where there's no team preview, sometimes it's tough to make that choice. And now going into this third battle, let's see how these players adjust based on what they've seen from those first 2.
Yeah, and I think if anything, that game highlights how Venusaur can be very ineffective if Swampert's not in the game. And I love the dynamic of these matchups because we see them in competitive VGC as well all the time, where now you go into like the next game and you're like, okay, if I don't expect them to bring the Swampert, I'm not going to bring Venusaur. And whoever makes the right call there obviously has the advantage, right? Like, a lot of the times you end up seeing the Swampert coming out, and you're like, oh, now I gave up my best answer to it. I don't have anything to deal with it at all. So it's like, do you want to risk having the best answer against one of the best Pokemon on your opponent's team, or do you make the call that they're not going to bring it?
Right.
Really tough decision to make.
Incredibly difficult. And again, comes back to team building. Having enough answers to these big threats to make these choices. Very important. So the competition starts long before the battle, and these players have chosen some very, very strong Pokemon to bring today. Absolutely.
I'm really excited to see how this plays out. It's definitely been an intense game. You can tell that these guys are really, really good at competitive PvP, and some really nice adjustments by King. So going into a third game like this is always interesting because it's like you could lead Skarmory again for King's End, but maybe you call it he's going to switch up his lead and go with something else. Actually, a Deoxys coming out this time around.
Deoxys versus Azumarill. Interesting adjustments by both players, and also I'm very interested to see what else they've chosen to bring behind these 2 lead Pokemon.
I really want to know if Swampert and the Venusaur make an appearance here, but Deoxys here going to get its first charge move off, will be that Psycho Boost. Excellent from King there. Does a sizable amount of damage. We can see how defensive Azumarill is, actually taking that quite well, and a switch out immediately actually into King's own Azumarill.
Perfect timing with the switch there, just as Pogokieng's Azumarill charged up for that Hydro Pump, able to tank some of that damage.
Ooh, but the Lantern, and of course now this Azumarill is kind of locked in, can't really switch out. Lantern with the super effective electric type attacks will be able to potentially knock it out should King not go for the shields. Gonna be a play rough coming out for now. Let's see if there's a shield coming out from Pogokieng's end. No shield.
Good amount of damage there from that same type attack bonus on the play rough. As Pogokieng continues to charge up, here comes that charge attack. King deciding not to shield.
Oh, there's a Thunderbolt. That's just a knockout there. Surprising to kind of see that, but potentially wanting to conserve the shield specifically for the Deoxys. Lantern is a really major threat to the Skarmory in the back, but it's doing a lot of damage right now with its fast moves. Deoxys falls so low already.
Yeah, that Water Gun is a very, very strong fast move. So great choice by Pogokieng to bring that instead of Charge Beam on that Lantern.
Retaliating with a Psycho Boost of his own. Let's see if there's a shield coming out from Pogokieng's end right now. No shield. That will get the knockout. That's actually a really pivotal knockout because Lantern is so good against the Skarmory in the back.
Yeah, King now knows that Skarmory is pretty safe heading into this next matchup. And against Altaria, another matchup that Skarmory can potentially win.
This is definitely anyone's game right now. Shield pressure certainly on. It's going to be an excellent Rock Slide here from the Deoxys, and the shield comes out there from the Altaria. So pivotal shield from it right now. Oh, whoa! That was a double switch.
Both players choosing the switch at the same time.
Really impressive decision making there. Skarmory, however, right now actually in a really good position, especially by being able to get the Sky Attack off. It's done a lot of damage already to Azumarill. Altaria is quite low as well. Altaria doesn't have the best matchup. There is the last shield there from Pokémon. King still has the shield advantage, so it feels like King definitely in a prime spot right now to win this one, especially with this last shield and Skarmory having such a good matchup against the Azumarill and the Altaria.
Yep, shielding that Hydro Pump, avoiding a lot of damage there, and almost ready to let this last Sky Attack fly. Might not be enough damage to KO, but the next few quick moves should finish off the Azumarill.
There it is, there's the damage, and just enough to get the knockout with the excellent boost there. So Altaria coming out, but Altaria's Dragon Breath obviously not the best attack here to have against the Skarmory. No shields remaining out from King's End, so see if he decides to stay in and maybe eat a potential Dragon Pulse. It is going to stay in, and sizable damage there, but going to be able to retaliate back with an attack of its own.
Charging up that Sky Attack, ready to fire some damage off. He hits all those targets. Excellent damage.
It's going to be a close one. Will Altaria be able to pull this one off? Let's see. Actually going for the switch into Deoxys to eat up this charge move. That was an excellent display of skill.
Wow, using that Deoxys as a sort of final shield to keep his Skarmory alive just long enough to charge up.
But he still gets the knockout.
Wow.
The Altaria came through with the Dragon Breath, like you mentioned, one of the highest damage per dealing attacks for these fast moves. And wow, it looked like he was going to be able to pull it off, but Altaria's base damage was just so good, even though the Skarmory resists it.
Yeah, definitely surprised.
What a nice move to make, though, right? I think this is one thing you were talking about earlier, what trainers can certainly do, being able to switch out, use kind of something as the last attempt, eat up these high energy attacks, be able to switch back in, and then deal with it. If Skarmory were just a little bit healthier, it would have worked out perfectly.
Absolutely, and definitely shows the importance of keeping track of your Pokemon's energy. That Deoxys, unfortunately, didn't have enough energy charged up to use one of its charge moves there. Had King maybe left the Skarmory in, could have taken a little bit more damage, maybe baited one more charge attack from Pokémon, and then brought that Deoxys in to finish off Altaria with that Rock Slide.
Yep.
So, interesting to see how that worked out. Let's see if King adjusts. Let's see if Swampert comes back in this next battle.
Yeah, in that last game, neither Swampert nor Venusaur ended up coming out, and there it is. The Swampert makes an appearance, doesn't have to go up against the Venusaur lead this time around. Quite nice, being able to get some quick damage off across the board. Obviously wants to charge up that Hydro Cannon. Skarmory is going to make the switch, though, and there's the Lantern, actually. Eating up the Hydro Cannon. Nice switch.
Yeah, Pokémon timing that switch perfectly. Very aware of how long it takes that Swampert to charge up to Hydro Cannon, charging up some energy before switching in the Lantern.
Really being able to kind of trade damage right now. Of course, Lantern can switch out, but imagine might want to potentially use a shield. Right now, it's actually the Lantern going for an attack, opting for a Thunderbolt, and it's not going to be very effective, but still some pretty good damage. Swampert retaliating, though, looks like with an Earthquake of its own, so we'll see if Pokémon decides to shield this one. If not, certainly will be a knockout.
King gets through for super effective damage, and might just be able to charge up enough energy for one more Hydro Cannon before this Swampert faints. Let's see what Pokémon sends in. It's Venusaur.
All right.
Of course, probably the worst thing for that Swampert in that situation.
No Skarmory this time around, though, which is interesting. We saw the Azumarill and the Deoxys on King's End, but obviously Deoxys does have that super effective Psycho Boost. An excellent switch out there into Skarmory to eat up this Psycho Boost. Will be able to resist, of course, the second type attack because of Skarmory's Steel typing. That does really no damage at all, but of course now King can take advantage of this. Pokémon is stuck with his Skarmory. He's going to be able to swap out into his Azumarill.
Yeah, excellent switch timing by Pokémon. Really just showing his mastery of paying attention to the opponent and being aware of where their energy charge level is at.
And one thing that's interesting to note, both players still have their shields left up as well, so it's whoever ends up making the right decisions on shielding here will be really important. Is there going to be a shield that comes out here? No shield, and look how much damage that does against Skarmory.
Wow, both of these players saving those shields for the late game. Azumarill here going for another Ice Beam, unable to get that off before Skarmory. King still, does commit the shield there. Good choice, that Flash Cannon would have dealt a ton of damage to Azumarill.
And he's going to be able to retaliate with an Ice Beam of his own. It's like he wasn't able to connect on most of those, actually. Not sure what was happening there. And he still gets the knockout. Actually, potentially doing that on purpose.
Yeah, I think he's just aware of exactly how much damage that Ice Beam was going to deal,
yeah,
regardless
exactly.
of how well he charged it up. And now, of course, able to get off one more Ice Beam against the Venusaur.
So you gotta have a shield out here. Yeah, I was gonna say, otherwise it would just take so much damage, but now you have the Deoxys, you still have a shield left on Deoxys' end, you've got the super effective Psycho Boost, so this might go to a game 5. This is really close, but Venusaur's taking quite a lot of damage already, and the thing is, obviously Deoxys has such a good attack out. No shields remaining left though, so this is a big opportunity for a Frenzy Plant off against the Deoxys, but don't think it'll be enough to get the knockout. That is a lot of damage though.
Yeah, and with that one shield left for Pogokieng, this could make all the difference here. Avoiding the damage from the Psycho Boost, gonna be able to charge up another Frenzy Plant pretty quickly, as Vine Whip does charge energy very quickly.
Let's see, is there enough energy? Who gets the first attack off? Oh, it looks like it's actually going to be Venusaur. That means there's no Psycho Boost onto the Venusaur. That's most certainly going to lock out the Deoxys without the shield. Zumero's going to come back out, but is it able to do enough?